Okay, I'd like to call the City of Elkhorn Plan Commission, April 7th, 6 o'clock meeting to order. If we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call, please.
Meinel,
Here.
Geesland,
Here.
Boardman,
Here.
Stackel,
Here.
Hunter, Wutke,
Here.
Lechner.
Here. Next, we have approve the minutes of March 3rd, 2022. Everybody seen that in their packet? We have a motion?
Be approved as written.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussions or changes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed for the minutes of March 3rd, 2022. Next, we have the first on the A, DBAC Trust owner, Chris Hodges, Ferris Hanson Associates agent, W4668 Palmer Road, the ETP certified survey map. Everybody had that in their packet.
Packet, I put the town approval letter, so the town of Geneva has already approved it.
4468? Okay. 44. W4468.
That's just to clarify.
Okay. We have a motion? A motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Meinel,
Here. Yes.
Still.
Geesland,
Yes.
Boardman,
Yes.
Stackel,
Yes.
Hunter, Wutke,
Yes.
Lechner.
Yes. Motion passed for the certified survey map. Thank you, guys. Next, Copper Square LLC owner, John Donovan, Belinsky Homes applicant, the south side of Market Street between Church Street and Voss Road, the project concept review. John, if you want to come up to the table and if you just tip it down, it should be on, right, Matt?
You just have to pull it down and
Should be sitting in the other seat. Hello. Good evening. John Donovan with Belinsky Homes. We're here this evening for concept review in regards to what we call right now as Market Square or Market Street. It's a proposed 36 building, 72 units. Zoning is RD1. We're looking at RD1 probably with a PUD overlay, which gives us flexibility in the city, also flexibility in design, landscaping, things of that nature. The density is very close. We have a discrepancy, I think, in regards to our density versus what Bonnie had mentioned. Obviously, I don't think it's a big challenge. You're talking between 72 and 68. There could be flexibility in that as well. It is, at this time, it is proposed our specific use or ownership. We're not sure at this point in regards to a condominium or apartment complex. There is a great deal of conservancy or wetlands to the southwest. There is a great deal of green space within this project. I've looked over all the notations and comments from Naomi and Bonnie and come to the conclusion that a lot of these things will be taken care of, standards for construction and civil engineering at a later date. Certainly, we can discuss the possibilities of sidewalks and things of that nature. Obviously, we know these are main streets. They're going to need most likely sidewalks. We're looking at this as a private uh, area, would be a private road. We're looking to potentially have the flexibility of reducing that road width. The reason we do that is that it accommodates two things. Number one, lots of traffic won't be driving through it. Number two, it eliminates or controls the parking on the sidewalk, on the streets as well. We have ample parking for this project. We have probably 2 units, 2 cars for each garage, plus 2 cars on the outside. The driveways are far enough away from the streets. We have then 21 individual parking stalls for either guests or overflow, but we don't see that as an issue. There was talk of, in regards to Naomi's comments, eliminating maybe one of the streets on Church, or one of our entrances, and just bring it down to one. I think that is certainly something we can look at and modify the plan to accommodate that as well. I think it has a really good flow to it. I think the buildings, we're looking at, the buildings' exteriors look the same. What we like to do is we multiply colors to probably 3 or 4 different color schemes, and then separate them as we build, so they're not one next to each other. It seems to work in other communities. We also are planning these buildings in the city of Watertown for about 55 units, 56 units. It's a very nice layout. The zoning accommodates what I think we're trying to do here, and I'm looking for feedback from the Planning Commission on the concept review, suggestions, feedback, so that we can take it back to the Belinsky hierarchies and discuss it further and come back with hopefully a better plan than or a plan that everybody's looking for. We don't know, we obviously, with our experience here in the city, we know that this is not the end product. So we know there's work to be done throughout the next few months, possibly a year. Let's hopefully not 2 years or so, but we're looking to probably start this, if everything worked out well, either the fall of 2022 or the spring of 2023. Any questions? That's what I'm here for, if you have any. Thank you very much.
Have one. You said you're not sure if it's gonna be condos
Mhm.
or townhouses?
Correct.
So that's still in the air.
It is in the air. It's a 50-50. My guess is the sites that we've discussed so far regarding this it's leaning towards rental, but it's not a done deal at this point. I mean, that's not part of the zoning, if it's a condominium or if it's a rental. But if that's something you want to discuss, because that's what everybody has to discuss, that's what I'm here for.
On the density, I know that we had changed that to 68, right? Or
What
6
John,
point, yeah.
right, when
I-
John was bringing up
yeah.
was that some of you were here when Copper Square was actually approved. Density, the question about the density is basically that in the, I didn't have a net acreage on the site in the packet, so I.
And, yeah, and also with the the PUD would allow for something to be acceptable as well.
We'll have to try to comply with the land use plan, even
Right.
with a plan.
But I guess my question would be, is the ordinance written that the net density does not allow the acreage for the wetlands? Yeah, I have the literature here from Point Real Estate. They had 12 buildings, 72 units.
Road location and sidewalk, I think, are important to discuss at least a little bit tonight.
So in your packet was my memo review of the concept plan that you see in front of you. And, definitely my recommendation was to sidewalk on Market Street and Church Street, the outer edges of the development, to continue that pedestrian access. But then, it's always nice to have sidewalk within the development itself, at least on one side. When you look at doing a public road, the requirement is to have sidewalk on both sides according to the code. So, if this were to be a private drive, that wouldn't necessarily apply, but we could look at maybe one side, having pedestrian access on one side of the road.
Do like that idea of sidewalks, at least something. I know there's a lot of kids up in that neighborhood, and I don't know if these houses will have kids or
I would guess that they'll have a combination of everybody, yeah. And I don't think Belinsky is opposed to sidewalks. We just didn't really show it on the plans. If it's obviously something that needs to be incorporated, it will be incorporated. We would just like to probably limit the internal part to maybe one side of the street.
I think you had brought it up, and I was just actually curious. So for both entrances off of Church, is this an issue, or is this something that?
Well, we typically like to, be cognizant of how many ingress, egress locations you allow. I do see you can see on the aerial photograph, there are 2 driveways across in the development already, or, that'd be the east. There are 2 driveways. If the desire was to have 2 entrances, ingress, egress off Church Street and the Public Works, if they didn't have an issue with it, then I would want them to be aligned with those driveways. Preferably 1 entrance of Church Street, just to limit the number of ingress, egresses at that location. Market Street is actually an arterial road. Obviously, we're not seeing a lot of traffic here because it dead ends, but it, in the future could extend, and then you'd have an entrance into this development that was further from that intersection on an arterial road, is the thought behind the comment on the entrances there.
Try to line up the driveways, so that's, I think, Naomi's point, is that if you're gonna have 2 on Church Street, have them line up with the 2 across. All right. Were you saying anything about the 2 accesses on Market Street, though?
No,
I didn't think so.
they're further apart on Market Street, and the one does line up with Heathstone, which is why I didn't necessarily comment on those entrances. I mean, unless, I don't know, Matt, if you had a preference
No,
on Market, okay.
I agree with your approach towards those. I don't necessarily see an issue with the 2 on Church. I think the preference would be 1, but again, to have them align with the entrances across the street would be a good approach.
I would have to say that I agree with you, but my guess is that it will be most likely one entrance that'll line with the furthest northern one, and then we will redesign that area to accommodate the buildings that are there already. Maybe do a T and come to an entrance. It can be worked out. Because the southern one won't work if we just move it in alignment.
Yeah, that's what I kind
Yeah,
of thought.
it's a waste of a street then, because we
You're
won't
gonna
be able
only
to.
have houses on one
Right.
side and not until.
Comments, Plan Commission members? Questions?
No, I guess that the only thing I'd have is I'd really like to see it as condo.
I can't answer that other than what I've done already,
Right, I
and I
understand
will
that.
certainly bring that back to the Belinskis
Okay.
so that they hear your comment.
I'd like to make one more comment just for consideration. So my review letter, like John mentioned, is farther along in the process beyond the concept stage. But one thing we'd like to see when we get to the general development plan is really, if these are private roads, what is the road width going to be? Because you're looking for a reduced road width, and to show that you can accommodate like the garbage trucks, movement of garbage trucks, movement of city vehicles, and then where the utility placement would be aligned. You'll have public utilities,
Well, they would be private. 'Cause
Private
it'll
utilities?
be a private road, yeah. It'll be a private development.
private road and private utilities.
Mhm.
Okay, and then to get adequate spacing and area for maintenance, because we usually see those under the roadway, and that's why we have a 28-foot roadway width and a certain right of way. So to show that in the general development plan up
Correct.
front, yeah.
Right. It would be a preliminary civil for the utilities.
Right, beyond the stage,
Right.
correct.
I guess if that one Church Street was not coming off because of those houses, would we have to have a turnaround down there so fire trucks could get down there and stuff? Would that have to be?
Well, that's a public road. That would be up to you guys.
In your development, even though it's private, fire department would still be servicing it, right?
Yeah, we'd have a fire truck movement if we had any concerns,
Yeah.
yeah.
The T would be designed to accommodate a fire truck.
Any T or cul-de-sac would have to, yeah.
Sack, okay.
None. I mean, we're at concept. Well, typically, I mean, obviously, there's no grading plan here to accommodate that, but that's concept level. I mean, the next step would be to do preliminary grading, preliminary utilities, and if those buildings have to be shifted or modified based on storm, then that's what we come back for as a package. I don't anticipate it. I mean, obviously, Trio has done 90% of our work in the last 5 years that I've been there. And when they're setting these up, they're looking at grades on how to move water to where the storms are supposed to go or be developed in the property. We are always discussing those things as we even do concept plans.
Comment too regarding the utilities. I think it would be atypical from what we've seen recently for these to be private utilities within the complex. Going back to the a recent one, those were all public. The sanitary sewer was public. The water main within inside the complex was public. So I think that we'd want to see those be public as well and not be private.
Yeah, we're not opposed to that at all.
Okay.
I mean, we'd give you the easements and things of that nature and work with you in regards to, I mean, obviously, we know the difference between the public and the private.
Comments?
Yeah, I assume there's no action on the concept? Okay. Just, I'll obviously get the notes of this at some point, but just think of where we are now and all the things that Bonnie, Matt, I, and Naomi have discussed. That's the expenditures starting, that start creeping up to $50,000 to $100,000 to come back. So, it's important to get whatever feedback we can in regards to your thoughts on these projects before we move forward, because we don't own the land yet. We're still in a study period with the owner. So it's important to us. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have, excuse if I don't say the name correct, but Kieran Moran, contract purchaser, Patrick Moon, Sweeten Mayor, SC agent, the south side of Koopman Lane at the eastern end of Arnold Avenue. Discussion only on the proposed annexation and rezone.
Thank you. So it's Patrick DeMoon of Sweeten Mayor on behalf of the applicant. With me today, I have attorney Christina Green, Mr. Kieran Moran of Kingdom Farms, and Mr. Jeff Greenwald of the Sansone Group. So we're up for kind of an informational discussion. As you said, we kind of want to get your feedback, make sure we're heading in the right direction here. But for this project, my client is under contract to purchase 3 parcels of land. One is currently owned by the city of Elkhorn. It's in the Elkhorn Business Park. It's 2.2 acres zoned M2. The other 2 parcels are adjacent to the business park. They're owned by the Brummel family. It's about 55 acres, currently zoned A1. All 3 parcels are slated for industrial development under the city's comprehensive plan. And what we're proposing to do here is to annex the Brummel parcels into the city and then rezone them to M1 with a planned development overlay, allowing for an increase in building height to 67 feet from the standard 50 feet. Now, once annexed and rezoned, our intent is to combine these 3 parcels through a CSA. West parcel will apply for a CUP to allow the construction of a 250,000 square foot Class A cold storage facility. This will be a joint venture between Kingdom Farms and the Sansone Group, both of which are second generation family owned businesses that really pride themselves in being good corporate citizens. This building will have 4 independent areas for both frozen and refrigerated storage. It's going to be configured for multiple tenants. It will have 9,000 square feet of office space in addition to refrigerated loading dock area. And the building will meet or exceed all the applicable energy efficiency codes with LED lighting both inside and out of the building. Now, the maximum height will be 67 feet, hence the need for the planned development overlay. On the east parcel, we're going to reserve that land either for further expansion of the cold storage facility or possible sale to third parties, or perhaps development to other light industrial uses consistent with the M1 district, with CUPs applied for as needed. On the far east end of that east parcel, we'll construct a berm to buffer and separate this project from the residential land that's across County Highway H to the east. I should note that there will be no through traffic through our development to County H, and all the driveways will be internally contained, with the only access on Koopman Lane and then Arnold Avenue. So we think this will be a nice project for the city, but we're all here again to answer any questions, address whatever concerns you have.
Have sufficient time to prepare much of a report, and actually there was nothing in your packet because we just received this actually about a week ago, a little over a week ago. We had an initial meeting, Jim Heilman was in the meeting. Town of Geneva, and then I had pointed out that we did have a city-owned parcel, the one that abuts Koopman Lane, and then they came and talked to Jim about the possibility of purchasing that because it made sense to have the connection from the development out to Koopman Lane as well as Arnold. The only concern I had, which I did express initially, was that with the M1 zoning that would be asked for and the light industrial designation in the land use plan, it does have, it does say that it's supposed to be for kind of smaller businesses. And this one is going to be significantly larger in footprint and the height. So I didn't know if anybody would have any concerns about that. I think otherwise it's a great addition to the city. I'm just trying to picture a 67-foot tall building, and I don't think anything in our industrial possible to get a conditional use permit for this.
Oh, I haven't looked at this, sorry.
Okay, that's okay.
I'll pipe up if I think of some.
Well, I think it looks like a good project for the industrial park there, so I would like to see something, be able to move forward with it. However, we gotta work it to make it work, or, that's just my opinion, but.
I think that's the right area for it, because it's on the south side of the park, on the south side of the city, and it's not, you know, the first thing you come in, when you come in one of the main roads.
You know, when council approved the sale of the property, the city's part, the big concern was traffic off of Highway H, and I know they've taken care of that. That was their, Ken can attest to that, we didn't wanna see the trucks on Highway H, and that was one of their biggest concerns, especially one of the aldermen that lives across the way there, so. And that was, you know, you guys have taken care of that, so.
Fits there, you know, might be a little high, but it fits there.
Thought I would have, and it was that when it comes to the rezoning, we would just rezone the part that they are going to have a plan for right now.
To see this project move forward, I don't wanna.
Well, I like it, you know, but I think a lot more has to come through Bonnie but the concept, I think, is fine, yeah.
Good. No, thank you. Next, we have general discussion items, which we have none. April 21st meeting, nope, nothing on April 21st. Okay, so keep your eyes on your packets for May 5th, probably?
Definitely May 5th.
Definitely May 5th, okay?
Yeah.
You have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do we have a second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.